Donald Trump is the likely Republican nominee in 2024, but he's facing numerous criminal charges.
If you didn't know.
Which make his ability to hold office unclear if he's convicted.
And with us now is Richard Johnson, Senior Lecturer in US Politics at Queen Mary University of London. Lovely to have you with us this morning. Given that these debates are descending into plenty of red-on-red attacks and nobody's coming off particularly well, I think, and Donald Trump is staying away from all of it, how do you think that's playing? Do you think he's just gaining in popularity and status by keeping off that stage?
Trump has been, I think, vindicated in his decision not to participate in the debates. His polling now is stronger than it's been at any point in the last 18 months. CNN had a poll this week showing him at 61%. And just to give you context, if you put the 5 candidates who are on stage together, their polling is 36%. So for any one of them to be a viable contender against Trump, they have to hoover up all of the support of everyone on that stage and peel off about a quarter of Trump's current supporters. So that just gives you a sense of really how significant his advantage is at the moment.
Pretend for a moment that Donald Trump isn't running. What would you have said about the debate and who's actually doing well for fighting into second position, at least?
Well, this was probably the most substantive of the 3 debates we had because there were fewer people on the stage. It gave candidates a bit more time to develop their answers. The 2 standout figures, I think, were Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, both the current non-Trump frontrunners. To give you context, DeSantis was at 17 points in the CNN poll and Haley at 10 points. But they are the 2 and 3 in the race, and I think that showed in the debate. I thought that Tim Scott was pretty low energy. I suspect this may be his last debate. He didn't really cut through very much. And ditto with Chris Christie, who is effectively trying to be the anti-Trump candidate in a primary field that's not so interested in him. The wild card was Vivek Ramaswamy, who went in there as a bit of a bomb thrower, but I think his act is wearing thin. I don't think he had an especially good debate, and where he made some of his more outrageous claims, the other candidates were pretty quick at putting him down. So Haley and DeSantis were probably the 2 strongest on the field.
It seemed as though the candidates weren't exactly focusing on the issues that are going to move the dial at next year's election. For example, off the back of the election results on Tuesday into Wednesday, where we know how keenly abortion featured as a political issue in those. That was not discussed until the very end, and there wasn't really much moving of the dial. DeSantis perhaps a little more vague on his stance. And there was a huge emphasis on foreign policy, which, as we know, typically isn't one of the key issues for voters in the United States when they're deciding who to vote for on their ballot.
Yeah, I would actually say I thought that the abortion discussion, you're right, it came late in the debate, but I thought it was one of the more interesting discussions. You saw there some of the candidates take a softer line, perhaps, than we've seen in previous Republican primaries. I think there is a recognition among leading Republicans that, in effect, that the Republican Party is the dog that had finally caught the car with the Dobbs decision. It was easy to criticize Roe v. Wade, and that unified the party. But when it comes to actually deciding what the limits are on abortion, that turns out to be much more fraught. I think that the line that Haley and DeSantis want to effectively take is, let's now leave this to the states to decide. Tim Scott came in with a much stronger line that there needed to be a national limit. Sorry, my fire alarm's going off. I don't know if you could hear that. But it was a test, clearly. But that was a more interesting discussion on foreign policy. On your point about foreign policy, I think that helped Nikki Haley tonight. She is the most experienced candidate, having been ambassador to the United Nations, and that showed. It was also an area of broad agreement when it came to Israel, but when it came to Ukraine, you can see that there are cracks within the Republican Party about how strong to support the effort of the Ukrainians against Russia, ranging from Ramaswamy effectively calling Zelensky Nazi adjacent to Nikki Haley taking the view that Trump has been too weak with the Russians.
Okay, Richard Johnson, thank you so much. I mean,